Hey Risa, hey Tom, how are you?
I'm doing extremely well, actually. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, feeling good.
Good.
The temperature's finally coming down,
Isn't it
so
beautiful?
so that it's palpable, and you don't have to run for it. You can just absorb it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I know. I love it. Favorite time of year is fall. And
Yeah.
speaking of fall and seasons, and looking, Tom, at your yellow glasses and your yellow tie and your yellow vest.
That's right. And you can see that he's in the sunshine too.
Yeah. So speaking of all of those things, we are talking about light today and the value of light and sunshine and the sun and everything that comes with that beautiful concept for our curated conversations today. Right now, it's actually a timely moment because right now we have the exhibition Follow the Sun that has been up for the past several months. We've kept it open longer just given COVID and the forced lockdown. So thought it might be nice to talk a little bit more about that exhibition in particular, as well as some of the other paintings that highlight light and the beauty of sunlight in Bermuda that are in our collection.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
So tell me a little bit more about the concept for the exhibition, Elise. What exactly was the concept behind Follow the Sun?
Well, the concept was something that I think Tom and I have been talking about since the beginning of Masterworks. The fact is that Winslow Homer is the mentor, was the reason why so many American East Coast artists came to Bermuda. When he exhibited his watercolors at the Buffalo exhibition in 1902, it was before television or radio or even a lot of communication. So artists would flock to these exhibition pavilions and check out what other artists were doing, sort of up in around the United States and in Canada. And because Homer chose his Bermuda works in particular, and he felt that they were the best works he had ever done, obviously other artists from other schools, such as Oline, Connecticut, such as Boston, such as New York, such as New Jersey, saw these works and said, wow, look at the light. The light is just so translucent and iridescent. And because most of them were post-impressionists who had gone to France to study, it was perfect. This was a perfect vehicle for them to express their own muses in. So because Bermuda was inexpensive as well, it was a wonderful opportunity for them to come down and paint plein air in the wintertime in Bermuda. And Bermuda being in the middle of the Atlantic, there was no pollution. There were no outside influences really as far as the weather is concerned. So you had this amazing, and especially at this time of year, the light is so translucent, so beautiful. It's hard to capture, and it was really elusive for a lot of these artists. So they came in school. So that was what the exhibit is all about. If you come in, you'll see the Homers, you'll see the Buffalo exhibition, you'll see his little book, but the rest of the exhibition is about the people that he influenced and he sort of lured to the island and the different schools and their different attempts in capturing the iridescent light of Bermuda, from Connecticut to Massachusetts to New Jersey to New York to Boston, up and down the eastern seacoast. So that was the premise of the exhibition, and we divided it into schools. And it's a beautiful exhibition because it's that traditional sort of post-impressionist dapple light effect.
And are there any artists in this exhibition that really stand out in your mind as capturing the light in a way that's different from other artists at that time, like really pushing the envelope on how you capture light or how you capture shadow as an artist?
Well, I think the person that was the most innovative was Ambrose Webster. We've dedicated the whole mezzanine to Ambrose Webster, and he was the person that came down here, and he was very scientific about how he looked at light and studied it very carefully. When he was in New England in the wintertime, he painted a lot of winter scenes, snow scenes, which were very similar to that, as Mark Twain said, that white of Bermuda that's like the icing on a cake. And it was, the two of them were very similar, kind of sort of glaring kind of lights. But Webster was the one that said, Several persons have asked me why or when I became so sure that shadows and sunlight are purple. He said, I always thought so, but it was not positive until I came to Bermuda, where I now go every winter. So it was in Bermuda that he discovered the contrast between this glaring white light and the purple shadows, and spent most of his lifetime trying to capture it, and did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. And Tom, what about you? Any artists that stand out to you in this exhibition in terms of capturing the light?
No, I think we need to be, for me, I need to put my own introduction to all of this, because when we opened up the museum, it allowed us some flexibility to start really doing shows and exhibitions by theme. And unapologetically, we have stolen, lines and or titles, but applied them as they, would work with a visual exhibition. So speaking of light, one of the little shows that we did, I think in the fall of 2008, was the Charge of the Light Brigade. Not referring to the charge of horses and all the rest of that stuff, but the responsibility, that is the charge, the responsibility of artists that they have when they saw light. And in this case, we follow the sun. It was the Beatles that said, I'll follow the sun. And you think about how many songs there are about sunshine. Even Stevie Wonder, who's blind, says, you are the sunshine of my life. So in other words, it is an orbit that is impactful in everything that we do and think and feel and have sensories about, warm and cold and all the rest of those things that that dictate and generate our life. From the clothes that we put on in the day to how we feel about that sort of thing. If it's a gray day, people typically will put on gray clothes because it's reflective of the atmosphere. So, in terms of light. I suppose anything that, Ross Turner did, he was one of the guys that really sort of captured light in watercolor. Winslow Homer is an obvious one. But for me, I got to go into a medium that I don't think is fully represented, and that is photography. Because photography generates with light. Even in the absence of light, you try and struggle to make a photograph, you need to have light. And it was a photograph that I was shown, I'm not going to tell you, but it was a long, long time before you were born, Risa. I was shown this photograph and it was bingo, light. Look at this light. And although it was, it's omnipresent, it took another medium for me to really sort of understand it and see it for the element and the quality that it is for the very first time. And it's what led me to follow photography, which has led me to do the museum, which has led us to do shows, like this and so on and so on and so on. So in the next show, we will dedicate some more work to that, the topic of light and photographs, because that's, in my departure, that will be a very important element of what makes the world go around, quite literally. Without light and sunshine, we would not be here.
I think it's really interesting.
We would have no chloroform, and without no chloroform, we wouldn't have life. And the list of things that goes on that is generated by light is critical to me. I'm a simple guy with leading a simple life, right? I don't know all the esoterics of things. I just really know that light plays a huge part. And obviously in the art world, it plays an even bigger role than it does for most people.
I think this is one of the dirty little secrets that nobody realizes about Masterworks. Photography wasn't something that I was really all that familiar with until I became part of Masterworks and learned, as they say, on the master's knee from Tom. Because when Masterworks first opened, a lot of people didn't consider photography a true art form. I mean, and I remember Tom and I would have these discussions with people who would say, what are you putting photographs in your exhibitions for? That's not art. Art is painting. And through the years, Tom has been able to really teach people about the fine art of photography. And I think that we've been able to collect side by side with our paintings, which reflect light, photographs from all sorts of photographers, from Carl Struss to Henry Clay Gibson, Cole Weston. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And they're all examples of photographers not only coming down here to try to capture the light, as well as the artists. So I think, 2020, we can look back and say that it's one of those things that I think that we have contributed to Bermuda's understanding of the arts in general, is the importance of photography, and also the importance of how artists use photography to finish their final works. We know that Winslow Homer carried a Brownie camera with him wherever he went, capturing the light in Bermuda and in the Everglades and in Cuba and the Bahamas. Unfortunately, we have yet to get our hands on any of them, but that would be a wonderful bridge between photography and what most of us consider fine art.
Mm-hmm. And so, Tom, any tricks of the trade from a photography perspective in terms of capturing light? I mean, is there kind of like a way that you look to take photographs, or when you go out and you're looking at places to capture, is there anything you consider as a photographer when you are looking to capture the light in a certain way?
Well, yeah, and funnily enough, I was out the other day, and although I desperately wanted to make this image, I realized that the light was in the wrong spot. And so try as I might, the only way I could have ever probably captured the image was to, take artificial light and counterbalance the natural light. So, I had to come back and wait till the sun was further around to make that sort of image. So those are the sorts of, considerations. And in the world of painting, you might have that sort of a struggle with light. It may be a challenge, but you can still achieve what it is that you see, which you just can't do with the photograph. It's not a technical thing. It's just where light comes from. Now, yesterday I was listening to a whole bunch of music dedicated to the solstice, because it's fall, and there was Vivaldi and there was Bach and all these, blah, 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 who dedicated, Elgar was in there as well, Vaughan Williams, but I digress. So yesterday was all about the fall. Now in the fall, that's when light starts to really get magic. As the sun heads south, the world starts to warm up, the reflected light, becomes a lot warmer, and it's just a magic time. The summertime, when it's overhead and it's harsh and brutal, it's just, it's difficult. Mm-hmm. Here now is when you want to get your camera out and get going. So no tricks. It's just sort of a matter of waiting and being patient for the right moments. I've never been one to sort of want to force a photograph if the light's not right and the subject looks good. Well, you just have to leave it. That's too bad, because most of the work that I do is architectural in nature, so that I know that I can come back to it. If I were a street photographer, that would be a little bit different, but I'm not. So the work that I study is somewhat more static to change of time rather than a change in light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just, to Elise's point before, just about, what Masterworks has done to showcase the way that light has been represented in paintings over the many, decades, and photography as well. I think the three of us all agree that we really see Masterworks itself as a light within the community. And I think we really, we not only try and push the message of how to develop your skills as an artist, or showcase your skills as an artist within Bermuda, which is, as we talked about, a lot about representing light, but also that we are here as, an institution that really celebrates, people, and so, yeah, so just kind of wanted to end on the note that we also hope that we're seen as a light within Bermuda. And
well, what you're trying to say, to use a very poor pun, is that we're trying to shine a light within the light.
Yes.
And that's exactly what has happened. We have shone light on a whole subject matter that no one thought possible. And so it's a wonderful reward, that's for sure.
Yeah. And we still get artists that come down here and just can't believe how elusive the light is. I mean, as Tom says, being a photographer, you throw your hands up and you say, I can't do it today. Artists are a little different. They try to, and they fail, and they try again, and then eventually they do get to that point. But
coming back to two photographers and light, one was a Josef Karsh, who we've got some work by him, not a Bermuda subject matter, but he came here in 1948, and he said, he's quoted as saying, "I can't wait to get out photographing." So he said, the light is extraordinary. Right. And we've yet to find some Bermuda subject matter, and we're going through the archive in Canada constantly. There just doesn't seem to be anything there, but you never give up. The other photographer who literally ran out of film because the light was so brilliant was Struss. So he started using movie film to make his stills because he had run out of still film for his camera. So, that's the impact that it has had on but two individuals that I know of.
Yeah, but again, Tom, Struss also, I mean, the light that he was able to capture was the beginning of our tourism industry. And I think you really have to understand that, before commercial brochures and pamphlets, somebody like Karl Struss, who was able to capture the light down here and translate it into tourist brochures, was really important in developing our tourist industry as well. So, the Bermuda light plays a lot of different roles and a lot of different developments of what we are today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And speaking of light, I'm in a room that's still boarded up from the hurricane, so I can't wait for the shutters to open and the light to come back in. That is why the light above me is so strong. But just want everybody to know that the Follow the Sun exhibition will be continuing on for the rest of the year until we have a new exhibition in the early months of 2021. So we hope that people will come and look at the paintings that Elise and Tom have spoken about today, and that people continue to follow the light. So thank you, Elise, and thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much, Risa. Good to see you.
Everybody. Yeah. And have a bright, sunshiny day.
Lovely.